Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum.
In this lecture, we will be studying nitrogen and its roles in plant nutrition. First of all, we will be studying the importance of nitrogen in plant nutrition. Nitrogen is the most important plant nutrient, at least in terms of producing a reliable and large increase in growth. Most of the advances in agriculture production since the 1940s have been won by vast increases in nitrogen application. More nitrogen is equal to more growth, typically soft, fast, sappy growth, deep green foliage. Our crops have been described as nitrogen green, referring to their force fed status and color. Deficiency of nitrogen results in stunting, yellowness, and general poor growth. Remember that nitrogen is required for vegetative growth of the plants. If we continue adding nitrogen, the vegetative growth of plant will continue. So you have to cut down nitrogen supply when the plants are entering their reproductive phase. Simply, vegetative phase is the production of leaves and increase in stem, while reproductive phase is appearance of flowers and then seeds. So plants require more nitrogen during their vegetative growth compared to reproductive growth. Healthy plants often contain 3 to 4% nitrogen in their above ground tissues. This is a much higher concentration compared to other nutrients. Nitrogen is so vital because it is a major component of chlorophyll, the compound by which plants use sunlight energy to produce sugars from water and carbon dioxide. And this process is known as photosynthesis. Nitrogen is a significant component of nucleic acids such as DNA, the genetic material that allows cells and eventually whole plants to grow and reproduce. Without nitrogen, there would be no life as we know it. Nitrogen is also a major component of amino acids, the building block of proteins. Without proteins, plants wither and die. Some proteins act as structural units in plant cells, while others act as enzymes, making possible many of the biochemical reactions on which life is based. Nitrogen is a component of energy transfer compounds such as adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate allows cells to conserve and use the energy released in metabolism. So in this slide, you have learned that nitrogen is the part of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is compound due to which plants look green, and chlorophyll is required for photosynthesis. If there is no nitrogen supply, photosynthesis will be affected, and if photosynthesis is affected, the whole plant life is adversely affected. Soil nitrogen exists in three general forms: organic nitrogen, ammonium ions, and nitrate ions. At any given time, 95 to 99% of the potentially available nitrogen in the soil is in organic forms, either in plant and animal residues, in the relatively stable soil organic matter, or in living soil organisms, mainly microbes such as bacteria. This nitrogen is not directly available to plants, but some can be converted to available forms by microorganisms. A very small amount of organic nitrogen may exist in soluble organic compounds such as urea that may be slightly available to plants. Functions of nitrogen in plants. Inside the plant, nitrogen converts to amino acids, the building blocks for proteins. These amino acids are then used in forming protoplasm, which is used in cell division. These amino acids are also utilized in producing necessary enzymes and structural part of the plant and can become part of the stored proteins in the grains. Nitrogen serves as a source for the dark green color in the leaves of various crops. This is a result of high concentration of chlorophyll. Nitrogen combined with high concentration of chlorophyll utilizes the sunlight as an energy source to carry out essential plant functions including nutrient uptake. Chlorophyll is associated with the production of simple sugars from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. These sugars, along with their conversion products, play a role in stimulating plant growth and development along with higher protein content in grain. Nitrogen deficiency shows up in the yellowing or chlorosis of the plant leaves. The yellowing will start in the oldest leaves and then will proceed to develop on younger leaves if the deficiency continues. Plants will typically be shorter or stunted and grow slower than plants with sufficient nitrogen. Nitrogen stress also reduces the amount of protein in the seed and plant. Tillering can also be reduced in small grains. A nitrogen deficiency can also affect the standability of crops as grains fill grain fill occurs. If a plant is deficient in nitrogen, it will draw nitrogen out of the leaves and stalk for grain fill. This will weaken the stalk or stem, causing standability problems. There are some typical nitrogen deficiency symptoms. These include sick, yellow, and green leaves, shorter stems, small leaves, pale colored leaves and flowers, slow and dwarfed plant growth. You can see here the nitrogen deficiency symptoms in plant. The leaves look sick. These are yellow. So if you see the yellowing of leaves, clearly understand that it is nitrogen deficiency. Again, the right one, the greener one is the nitrogen, no nitrogen deficiency, and in a yellowish leaf there is nitrogen deficiency. So you can distinguish the nitrogen deficiency symptoms on the basis of leaf color. If we look at the growth of maize plant, cob or silk is the main product. If nitrogen is deficient, the cob is not filled to its full potential, which reduces yield. Here you can see that if nitrogen is not present in the left side picture, the cob is not full with the grains, while in nitrogen sufficient cob, the cob is full with the grains. Again, in the lemon leaves, you can see that the plants with sufficient availability of nitrogen have greener leaves and the rest of four leaves have yellowing in their color, which means that these are nitrogen deficit. There are several crops and you can see that all of them show yellowing symptoms, which are the typical symptom for nitrogen deficiency in plants. Plant nitrogen needs and uptake. Plants absorb nitrogen from the soil as ammonium or nitrate ions, but because nitrification is so pervasive in agricultural soils, most of the nitrogen is taken up as nitrate. Nitrate moves freely toward plant roots as they absorb water. Once inside the plant, nitrate is reduced to an NH2 form and is assimilated to produce more complex compounds. Because plants require very large quantities of nitrogen, an extensive root system is essential to allow unrestricted uptake of nitrogen. Plants with roots restricted by compaction may show signs of nitrogen deficiency even when adequate nitrogen is present in the soil. Generally, nitrogen is uptaken by the plant in the form of nitrate ions, but if there are submerged conditions where crops are grown in standing water, for example rice, then nitrogen is uptaken by plant in ammonium ion forms. Fertilizing legumes with nitrogen in biological nitrogen fixation or in rhizobial plant interaction lectures, you will be getting in touch with the word legumes. Legumes are the crops or the plants which can make root nodules in which can make nodules in their roots, and these roots make associations with bacteria which help these plants to fix nitrogen. So we will discuss these things in detail in the upcoming lectures. Rhizobacteria are the bacteria which help plants to fix atmospheric nitrogen into consumable form. Because the rhizobacteria that infect legume roots normally supply adequate nitrogen to the host plant, well-nourished legumes rarely respond to addition of nitrogen fertilizer. So if rhizobacteria make an association with the roots of legumes, they supply sufficient nitrogen which is essential for the growth of that plant, and if you add inorganic nitrogen to those plants they will not respond. This means that this root and bacteria association provides sufficient nitrogen. Occasionally, however, soybeans may respond to applications of nitrogen late in the season, presumably because nitrogen fixation in the nodules has declined significantly. Such responses are quite erratic, though the late season applications of nitrogen to soybean are not routinely recommended. The amount of atmospheric nitrogen fixed by non-symbiotic soil organisms vary with the soil types, organic matter present, and soil pH. If we look at the properties of nitrogen, nitrogen was discovered by Daniel Rutherford in 1772. Its atomic number is 7, fifth most abundant element in the universe. The atomic symbol is N. Atomic weight is 14.00. Largest use is ammonia, and atomic radius is 71 pm. Its melting point is 210 Celsius. Boiling point is 195.79 Celsius. Oxidation state is -35. Does not burn, not combustible, slightly soluble. Nitrogen is a part of proteins such as amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins. Fertilizers are important in plant growth, necessary in crop production. Explosives, gunpowders, rocket fuels, cyanides, laughing gas, mustard gas, alkalides. The Earth's atmosphere 80% is nitrogen, less than 20% is oxygen. Liquid nitrogen, coolants, nitrogen generators. Nitrogen food used in freezing foods such as liquid nitrogen plays a role in food digestion and growth parts of the body. 3% of human body weight is consist of. Thank you very much.